Scott, you just don't get it, do you? You don't.
Perkins waits. It's too late under the basket with Jordan attacking the way he does. He almost...
Parkour!
It's a new dawn. It's a new day. It's a new light.
Well, the lives of two people don't amount to a hill of beans in this crazy world, Ilsa. That's why you're getting on that plane. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow.
But I had you to myself, and I want you around. Those pretty faces always make you stand out in the crowd.
Time to talk about microphones and how to set them up, how they work, all of that. So let's start with handhelds. It's in the top hand drawer with these cordless mics. If you take these mics, take the metal casing off, open this latch, all of the battery packs that go to these mics are right here. And then you take this, you put the dots up, that's your positive. Go ahead and put them in, close that little latch. Now, once you have that in and the casing on, you flip this switch up, then it turns on. You can see that it's on now. If you want to mute the mic, then all you have to do is pull that down. That's muted. Technically it's off, but they come on within a second or two with this on and off switch. So there's not a mute button, there's not a power switch separate, it's just one power switch. So when you're done with a show or with an assembly or anything, you come over here, take the battery pack out, put the casing back on, back in the case, put it on the charger. You can use AA's for these microphones. We don't need to because we've got plenty here. There's no way that we're ever going to use more than 10 handheld mics at a time. Moving on down here to the other handhelds, you can take these handhelds. They're old, but they work really well still. All you have to do is plug in the XLR cable to the bottom of these into the inputs that you're putting them into and run them from there. They're in this second drawer down. Also down here we have our floor mics. The floor mics look like this. Okay, we've got the XLR already plugged in. This, as you see, you have one longer side of the plate and then one shorter side. The longer side is what needs to face whatever you want audio coming from. So if you put this out on the stage, you want this facing the performers, not the audience. If you face it this way, it's going to pick up more audience sound than it will stage sound. So you want to have this side facing the performers on the stage. Now that I've covered those, let's go and look at the ports. I'll plug them in, show you how to set them up. One more thing before we go do that, all of the microphone stands are right here too, with all of the microphones and the batteries. So everything should be in one place, easy peasy. Let's go check those out. So now we're going to talk about how to use these mics. Again, like I said, with these handhelds, put the batteries in and everything, flip this switch on, and as long as it's turned on up in the booth, it should work just fine down here. One thing that I want each one of you to remember, especially when we're running assemblies, that when we are teaching other people how to use these, anytime we run anything, anybody who uses this, you need to educate them, because people tend to think that this is the way they're supposed to hold the mic. And if we do that, we have to crank the sound up in the booth, and then we get lots of feedback. These microphones are designed to be right by your mouth, almost swallowing it. Sanitarily, let's keep it out of your mouth, but it's supposed to be right next to your mouth so that we can get the sound, then we can adjust it a little bit at a time from there. So when you're using these, remember to educate any of the people who are actually using them and teach them how to use these. If they're holding it here, bad. This is good. Let's talk about how we're going to set these up for like a piano, or how the microphone stands work so that you can set any of the microphones up for any event. So when we are setting up a microphone for a piano, we bring our microphone stand over, make sure that the elbow is just barely higher than the body of the piano, because we might need to shut the lid. Then you want to get the stand itself as close to the body as the piano. Move it all the way. We don't want it sticking out here and looking like crap. So let's get it as close to the body of the piano as we can. And then we want to put the microphone head right above the center of where most of the strings are coming together. Then you want to take your microphone and put it in the stand right there. And that's the gist of what you want to do for setting up a piano mic. Now, if you need to close the lid, obviously you've got to turn it, lay it flat, and then move it back just a little bit so that the head of the microphone is over that center of the piano. Now, you can't shut the lid all the way, obviously. You have to use the smaller of the pegs on the piano so that it doesn't come down on the microphone and the microphone stand. So when you lower that, you raise the smallest or second to smallest peg, and that way the piano is shut as far as it can with the microphone going in it, so that the microphone is picking up sound for the speakers, so that the audience can hear the piano through the speakers and not necessarily from the piano, or so that the performers on stage can actually hear the piano while it's playing instead, and the piano isn't overbearing on the audience. So we talked about these mics earlier. There are floor mics. Again, what you want to pay attention to is that the long side of the plate is facing where you want your sound to come from. So if you've got performers on stage and we're supposed to be miking them, this is the side that you have facing the performer. If you want audience sound, you want to face it towards the audience. So you set that on the edge of the stage. Usually I like to put gaff tape or something on here so it doesn't rip up the shine of the floor, but it also holds this down pretty well. You put that on the edge, and then you take your XLR, which is just the 3 pins, and then you plug it in one of the microphone ports. This is already on. This is working. Testing, testing, testing. And it's that easy. These are controlled in the booth, so you have to turn these on and adjust the power from the booth. Other than that, that's pretty much all the setup. Usually I like to take the cord and make sure that it's not just laying out everywhere, so try and make sure everything's cleaned up. Now let's talk about the overhead mics above the stage and the podium mic. Thank you, please be seated. This is the podium mic. It is plugged in backstage. If you come around the corner over here and go to one of those ports, that's what this is plugged into with a regular XLR. Usually we'll have it on the other side of the stage. Sometimes we need it here, so you gotta know how to plug these in and wheel them around. Now, microphones like the floor mic and the podium mic, they take what's called phantom power. And I'm gonna show you right here how to turn that on in the booth. You have to have phantom power on to run this kind of microphone and the floor mic. The other microphones don't use phantom power. But if you don't turn phantom power on for the podium or for those floor mics, they will not work. So if you've got it plugged in, you have signal, it'll even show signal in the booth. If you have it plugged in and it's showing signal but you don't have any sound and all your volume is up and everything, then chances are it's probably not on phantom power, and all you have to do is turn that on and it should work. Now let's go and check out those overhead mics. So now we're looking at our overhead mics. We've got one here, right there, and we've got another one right here. This one is stage right overhead, the other one is stage left overhead. Those are so we can pick up sound from the performers on the stage while they're performing, and their sound should come out of the monitors straight above their head and out to the audience using these microphones. We can adjust where these are in case we need them in a specific spot for a show, but typically we want them in the center, kind of spread out a little bit. But those are your overhead microphones. So that's it. That's the deal with the microphones. That's how to set them up. That's where they are. That's how they work. If you have any other questions on how to use the microphones, please come and ask me so that we can make sure that it's working the right way instead of making it sound like crap. We want it to sound good. Please make sure that they're taken care of very well. Put them away when we're done. Put the cords away, put the stands away, any of that stuff. And then we can have awesome performances if we're working all of the sound, all of the microphones correctly. Thanks, guys.